Look, you're busy. Family, work, meetings, the list never ends. And every time you catch yourself in the mirror, that feeling hits. You know you need to do something about your health and fitness, the way you look and feel, but you just don't have the time. If that's you, this video will show you exactly why not having time to go to the gym might be your biggest advantage. I've been a trainer and performance coach for the last 12 years. I've worked across 3 continents, coached pro athletes, and have a degree in exercise and sports science. But the majority of my clients today are executives, entrepreneurs, and high-performing professionals who are brilliant at what they do, but constantly running out of time for their health and fitness. So over the years, I've had to get really good at one thing: getting people real results with as little time as possible. And full body training is the most powerful tools I use to do exactly that. Today, I'm going to show you how I program that for my busiest clients. I'm going to cover why 3 days a week is a sweet spot, the exact movement patterns I use as building blocks for any full body program, how to structure each session, and a simple A/B system for the weeks when life only gives you 2 days instead of 3. Here's what most people get wrong. They think more days in the gym automatically means more results. It doesn't. The science is clear on this. Adaptation doesn't actually happen in the gym. It happens when you're recovering from it. Training is a signal, rest is where your body responds to that signal and adapts. So if you're constantly in the gym without giving your body adequate time to recover, you're interrupting that process. You're not building. You're just accumulating fatigue. That's why people get frustrated with the lack of results and quit altogether. Your nervous system, your muscle, your hormones, they all need time to rest between hard sessions. Push too hard too often and you stop getting the returns on your efforts. I like the tanning analogy. Expose your skin to the right amount of sun and your skin gets the signal. It adapts, it darkens, it responds. But too much sun and you burn. And now you're not progressing. You're recovering from the damage. Training works exactly the same way. This is why 3 high intensity full body sessions a week sits in that sweet spot. Enough frequency and volume to send the signal, enough rest to let your body actually respond to it. So before we talk structure, we need to understand your ingredients. Every training program, no matter how many days, is built from the same movement patterns. Hinging, squatting, lunging, horizontal push and pull, vertical push and pull, knee flexion and extension, elbow flexion and extension, and your core work. That's your toolkit. Full body training doesn't mean doing everything every day. It means being strategic about which of these patterns you prioritize based on your goals. Want to grow your glutes? Load up hinging and hip extension work. Don't care about quad size right now? Deprioritize hack squats or leg extensions and use that time elsewhere. The more clear you are on your goal, the more intentional you can be with what goes in and what gets left out. Now I know if you're not deep in the world of exercise science, looking at a list of movement patterns and trying to factor in planes of motion, strength curves, resistance profiles, whilst avoiding redundancy can feel overwhelming. And that's exactly where most people get stuck. Not from the lack of effort, but from analysis paralysis. If you're relatively new to lifting, under a year of consistent training, you'd be surprised how quickly you can make progress just from doing things with the basic understanding. So I've built something to solve that. I've put together a custom GPT in the description below that essentially interviews you. It asks you about your goals, your lifestyle, your preferences, and then selects the right exercises for your program based on your answers. Take action now, click the link in the description, answer a few questions, and it'll do the thinking for you. Now, how to structure your sessions. Before I reveal my favorite method for my busiest clients, let's discuss certain alternatives that are equally as effective. Option 1 is an upper-lower biased A/B split. A 3-day full body week lets you alternate between an upper body focused day and a lower body focused day. And I want to be clear, focused doesn't mean exclusive. It just means where the emphasis sits. So essentially, this is how your training week would look like. Monday, upper bias, session A. Wednesday, lower bias, session B. Friday, back to your upper bias, session A. And Monday the next week, you would start with the lower body bias, session B. And the cycle continues for the entire training block. Now I know what you're thinking. Do I have to stick with the same exercises for the A and B sessions? That's boring, isn't it? And you're absolutely right. And I get great satisfaction from coding Bruce Lee every single time a client asks me, why are we doing the same exercises every week?
I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That's mastery.
So get good at mastering your fundamental movement patterns and you'll be a human weapon. On an upper body focused day, you might open with a dumbbell press or an overhead press. Your higher skill, higher fatiguing compound work goes first. Then a single arm lat pull down or a T-bar chest supported row. Once you've covered both your horizontal and vertical push and pull movements, throw in your lower body accessories. Hamstring curls, quad extensions, adductors. Lower demand, lower fatigue, and a great way to finish. So here's a clean example from a client's program. He's had T-spine and shoulder issues, so I start him with pulling exercises. A. Chest supported T-bar rows. B. Single arm lat pull downs. I like pairing all the same movement patterns, pulling horizontal and vertical in this case, for straight sets, as then you wouldn't have to warm up all over again for your working loads and save valuable time. C is a chest press plate loaded machine. D is a machine overhead press. Why machines? Machines remove the stability, coordination, and neurological demands that free weights require, making them far less taxing on your system, which is exactly why they work best later in the session, when fatigue is already building up. Now moving on to lower body accessories. E. Seated hamstring curl. F. Single leg extensions. And G. Decline bench leg raises. I like finishing with high intensity metabolic work. Zone 5 work creates a significant metabolic demand that drives fat burning, improves insulin sensitivity, and elevates your metabolism hours after your session has ended. Now that's crucial if your goal is body composition related and you're running on minimal time. And that's where the assault bike intervals come in at the end. Now flip that on a lower body focused day. Open with a Romanian deadlift or a split squat. Get the big lower body work done early, when you're fresh and internal stability demands from the exercises are high. Move on to a machine-based squat, hinge, or a single leg exercise. Examples include hack squat, incline hip extension, hip thrust, single leg press, or a Bulgarian split squat if you're a little bit more advanced. Then finish with your upper body accessories. A chest fly, tricep extension, bicep curl, lateral raises. Still getting the work in, just in a different order. So here's the lower body day for the same client. A. Barbell RDLs or incline hip extensions. B. Single leg prone hamstring curls, seated leg extensions, reverse cable fly chest supported, seated dumbbell curls, single arm tricep extensions, then obviously finishing with the ski erg for his interval training. Now, if you prefer a more balanced approach, especially on a 2-day week, you can alternate upper and lower movements throughout the session. Or even better, use supersets. And this is where the structure gets really intelligent. The idea is to pair movements that don't compete with each other. For example, an upper body push with the lower body hinge or curl, an overhead press into a hamstring curl. While one muscle group is working, the other is recovering. You're not just saving time, you're allowing each movement pattern to perform at a higher quality because it's not fighting for the same resources. This concept of pairing agonist and antagonist muscle groups or upper-lower body movements was popularized by strength coach Charles Poliquin through what's known as German body composition training. And it's one of the most efficient and effective ways to structure a session when time is a factor. A split squat paired with a pull-up is a great example, or a hip thrust into an overhead press. If you want to start a session with a hip hinge, something like a single leg RDL into a press works well. Lower body and upper body, push and pull, nothing competing and everything contributing. One very important thing I do want to flag: supersets are only effective if you're not being limited by your cardiovascular capacity. If your heart is still hammering when you go into your second movement, your performance will suffer and so will your results. So take the rest you need, let your heart rate settle, feel ready before you go again. The goal is quality of work, not just speed. So here's an example of a German body composition A and B split. Session A. On the A series, a Romanian deadlift into a dumbbell incline press. On the B series, a pendulum squat into a single arm lat pull down. On the C series, a lying hamstring curl into a dumbbell bicep curl into a tricep extension. And finally, for the metabolic conditioning bit, you go into a prowler push and slat drag as your interval training. For the session B, in the A series, dumbbell split squat into a chest supported T-bar row. B series, an incline hip extension into a barbell bench press. And for the C series, leg extensions into a dumbbell lateral raise and a Bosu ball crunch. And finally, on the D series, assault bike intervals. Now, this is very important for beginners out there. If you're newer to training, keep it simple for the first year. Compound movements only. RDLs, split squats, leg presses, horizontal push, vertical pull, and maybe one more push or pull pattern. Repeat these movements across all your cardio sessions. Frequency and exposure to that skill is what drives progress at that stage, not variety. I see it way too often, especially with all these conflicting shots and reels designed to stop the scroll, with some unorthodox exercise setup claiming evidence-based. You need to build a strong foundation when you're starting in the gym. The priority is movement quality over load, because the biggest, earliest adaptations are neurological, meaning your nervous system is learning to move correctly before you develop the skill of training intensity, which is why the AB system is so effective. Life isn't consistent. Some weeks you'll get 3 sessions in, some weeks 2. But here's how to handle that without losing your progress or overcomplicating it. Build 2 sessions, full body A and full body B. On a 2-day week, you do A and B. On a 3-day week, you do A, B, A. Then the following week, you'd start with B, A, B, and the cycle continues. That's it. Simple, consistent. Higher frequency on the exercises that matter, and you're never scrambling to figure out what to do when your schedule changes. There is no secret method to real results. It's learning to get very good at doing the same things over and over again. So, training days are covered. What do you do for the rest of the week? 2 things. First, cardio. Real cardio, zone 2 work, something that's actually challenging your cardiovascular system, getting your heart rate up and keeping it there. This isn't just about fitness. It directly improves your recovery, your sleep, your resting heart rate, and your performance in the gym. You won't need to rest 10 minutes between sets when your engine is running proper. You'll get your main resistance work done in 45 minutes to an hour if your cardiovascular system is half decent. Your VO2 max is a simple measure of how efficiently your body uses oxygen, and the higher it is, the healthier your heart, your lungs, and your cardiovascular systems are, which is why it's one of the strongest predictors of how long you'll live. One of the most frustrating things about my job is sitting down with a client in their mid-40s or early 50s and hearing the same story. A decade spent in and out of physio offices, moving in pain, constant energy crashes, and the hardest part is not the compensation. It's knowing that most of this was preventable. What's the point of working so hard to build a life if you're half broken by the time you get to enjoy it? So get on the bike, lace up your shoes, skipping ropes, whatever it takes to get you in zone 2. 20 minutes twice a week is all you need to drastically improve your VO2 max. Again, don't overthink this. I get every client to have an incline walking pad or an exercise bike at home. Second, a 5-minute mobility flow is crucial for all you desk warriors out there. If your joints can't move through their full range, your muscles can't work through their full range. And if your muscles can't work through their full range, you're leaving stimulus, strength, and results on the table. Mobility is not a separate thing from training. It's what allows training to actually work. Just hit mobility flow on YouTube and follow along to a 5-minute video. And finally, learn how to prepare some easy, quick meals to complement your training and recovery. Research shows that habits form in clusters, where one behavior triggers the next, are significantly more easier to stick to than isolated habits. And when applied to training and nutrition, studies consistently show that individuals who combine structured exercise with deliberate fueling and recovery protocols see up to 40% greater improvements in body composition and performance than those who train alone. That's my full framework for programming full body training. 2 to 3 days, smart movement selection, structured sessions, a simple AB rotation, and cardio on your off days. That's genuinely all you need to make serious progress within real-world time constraints. If you've got questions about programming or topics you want me to cover, drop them in the comments. And if this was useful, subscribe. I put out practical coaching content each week. Thank you and see you in the next one.